So we're having some tech issues tonight, and I'm getting a weird warning that my internet is unstable. So we're gonna keep our fingers crossed that this stays stable enough to get us live streaming. Okay. It looks like we are live, so I'm going to hand over control to Lisa. We're having some tonight, and I'm getting a weird warning that my internet is unstable. What is happening? That this stays stable enough. Yikes! To get us. Okay, sorry. Apologies. I think we're good now.
Okay, Jaylene, you're okay on your end? I think you were just getting a bit of feedback there. Yeah.
Yeah, I had the YouTube channel open and it was streaming, and there's this big lag between what I said and then when it started to repeat it. So
okay.
Super fun technology stuff. So I'm good.
Okay. No, that's great. Okay. So I think everybody has their agenda. I think the first order of business tonight is the election of the chair and vice chair. I think we will start with that. And can we start with nominations for chair? Let's start for nominations for chair. Yes, Heather, please go ahead.
I'd like to nominate Deb. I think she's done a great job for us all along here, and it's good to have somebody experienced, and yeah, she's been a very good role model and a great leader.
Okay, thank you, Heather. Is there any other nominations for chair?
Hi, everyone. It's been a long time since I've been on the Planning Commission, but I'm more than glad to support that nomination. And Heather, thanks for recommending Deb. I know she's been working for us for a lot of years.
Okay, great. Hearing no other nominations, I don't believe we need to vote, given that we only have one nomination. Is that correct, Jaylene?
I think we need to see if Deb wants to accept the nomination first.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Would be a good step to see if she still wants to sit in the chair.
I would be honored to accept. This is my last year on the CPC, having run, this will be my second term. And at the end of the second term, I will be handing over the reins to some equally adept person to run the meetings from then on. So I'd be happy to. And this will maybe be a quiet year. So we'll see what happens, what unfolds with COVID. So,
we should have a show of hands for everybody who would like to appoint Deb to the chair position. Excellent. Okay, and vice chair.
So vice chair. I would like to nominate Heather for vice chair. So she's done a great job of getting up to speed quickly, has been very focused, and has asked lots of questions, and I think is a great addition to the position of vice chair.
Okay, so same question, Heather, would you like to take vice chair?
I would be happy to take that position. I will tell you that I will, just like I've been doing, learn as I go. So maybe Deb and I can have some meetings on the side and talk about what those responsibilities actually mean. But I'm happy to provide my support any way I can.
Okay, great.
Excellent. Show of hands for everybody who would like to appoint Heather to the vice chair position. Excellent. Well, welcome, chair and vice chair. I'll turn it over to Riley.
Okay, thank you. Actually, I will now actually turn it over to Deb now that we have an official chair for 2021. So Deb, you can please proceed with the agenda.
Okay, thank you. So the first thing on the agenda is the introduction of the new members. So let me see, A comes before G, so we'll go with Adam. And introduce you to the board. Could you unmute and to say a few words, a couple sentences about what enticed you and interested you to become on the CPC board?
For sure. Lived in Cochrane for almost 6 years now, and I just wanted to get involved with how the community's growing. My children are young, so I want to see a future for them.
Okay, thank you. And some of your professional background, Adam?
I've been working in property management for about 8 years now, and I have a background in physical security and some in IT security. So, and also a little bit of OH&S thrown in there. So definitely some interest in how things in the planning part go.
Nice, and a very varied background. So nice set of competencies to bring. Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And George?
Thank you. I moved to Cochrane about 2 years ago after both my wife and I retired from our careers in Calgary. And my brother's been out here for 30 years. My daughter's been here for 7. And we've always had a liking to eventually move to Cochrane. And now that we're here, we intend to live in our home here for the next 20 years. And I definitely wanted to be involved in what happens with Cochrane as it develops going forward, both on a social level, a fiscal level, and on a level of the environment. So I wanted to be able to provide some input into what's happening with Cochrane.
Thank you, George. And some of your professional background.
Well, I'm a businessman. I've been involved with the railways most of my life. I actually worked for the high-speed train with the TGV of France for about 6 years. Then when my career sort of went in a different direction, the last 5 years I actually worked with Trico Homes as their president for multifamily, and didn't know anything about home building, but I was there for strategic thinking, and I've sat on a few boards, both profit and nonprofit, including the Accessible Housing Society for people that are that have mobility issues. And I was there for over 7 years, and I've stepped back from that position as well. So I'm glad to be part of this group that's going to be discussing issues of planning for Cochrane. Thank you.
Well, thank you, George. Bring a wealth of experience. So thank you and welcome to you both. So we're going to jump right into the agenda here. So it is a short agenda tonight. Are there any amendments? If not, can I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Okay. By Tara. Okay, all in favor? Okay. And the next thing is council update. So Tara and Marnie.
I can start with this, and maybe Councillor McFadden wants to jump in at any point if I miss anything. At our last meeting, we discussed the new protective services building. It was a borrowing bylaw. That's a $23 million project that is slated to be started sometime this spring with a 2-year kind of build out. So that was the one item on there. And then we had 2 presentations for information. One was from the Economic Recovery Task Force. This is for a COVID recovery grant program where businesses would be able to apply for some assistance, whether or not it's from an accountant or somebody from the taxes, somebody to kind of talk them through the process of all the grants that are kind of out there. Again, it was just for information only, so there's more information coming back. And the other one was from the Calgary Metropolitan Region, a course on regional growth and what that looks like. Again, both for information, kind of working through the processes. The CMRB is very busy especially for the mayor right now. He has had a ton of meetings going on. And so they're hopefully trying to finalize some items there, but I will let Councillor McFadden jump in case I missed anything that she would like to throw in there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Maybe just to highlight a little bit more on the CMRB, the Metropolitan Region Board. I don't know how familiar this group is with it, but it's an important space for Cochrane to be at the table for. The point of the board is to plan for how right now the region has about 1.5 million people living in it. And the point of the board is for how do we plan for the next 30, 40, 50 years as the next 1.5 million people move into the region? And how do we do that in a collaborative way, as opposed to competing against each other and making the best use of our resources, whether that's water, infrastructure, roads, also our taxpayer dollars. So it's been a long conversation. The predecessor to that was the Calgary Regional Partnership. But in the presentation that Councillor Federico spoke about, the team lead, who is a kind of internationally renowned planner that is providing the leading guidance to the group on this. One of the things that he spoke to that really highlighted is a lot of regions, when they suddenly get to having regional plan, it's because something's gone wrong. Affordable housing is an issue, or urban sprawl is an issue, or. And so what's different and what's really to be proud of with this plan is that the municipalities and the province is being proactive and laying down the groundwork. So that's the purpose of that plan. And right now, I think Cochrane's done a very good job in making sure that our voice is heard at the table for how we want to fit into that story. On another way to update you, perhaps a night of interest, I chair the Parks and Recreation Committee, and a lot of the work that committee is going to be doing is kind of in the parks planning space. So the project that we're going to be looking to is kind of the next steps in the Horse Creek Sports Park plans and how to move that ahead. So I can keep this group in the link because there's a lot of overlap in there as well. So, but I'm glad to be back joining this commission. I've served on it various times over the years, but it feels like home, even though it's different faces.
Yes. And sorry, I should have said welcome back, Tara. So sorry for missing that misstep there. I have a question with respect to the CMRB presentation. I tuned in, I didn't get right in at the beginning. I had another meeting that kind of overlapped. So who were the two people that were presenting for information? They were a consulting company from where? Do you know?
Riley, Mr. Weldon, can you rescue me on this? It went right out of my head.
Yeah, I can answer that question. So the consulting company is HDR Calthorpe, and Calthorpe is the planner that Councillor McFadden had referred to earlier. He is quite a renowned planner, renowned in terms of his regional planning as well, and he has made a career setting up a what's the word, a very sound approach to regional planning, and that he's bringing those skills and that experience and those principles to the Calgary region, and applying it here as well. So he is based out of San Francisco, but he has offices all over the United States. His counterpart is based in Portland, and he was actually, his name's Charlie Hales. He was actually the former mayor of Portland. And then once he finished his career in politics, he pursued a career in planning and joined HDR Calthorpe.
Hmm.
HDR also has an office in Calgary, so they do have a local group here in Calgary, and they also added in a outside consultant based out of Okotoks, who was also at the meeting.
Hmm. So was that the fellow that did the presentation at the Calgary Public Library about a year and a half ago? So that was the company that had done the modeling.
Yes, so
Was
it
that Calthorpe?
I wasn't at that meeting, but if it was the consultant, it would have been the same folks. It probably was not Mr. Calthorpe himself. It probably would have been one of his local team, likely Stephen Power. He's one of the local consultants here in Calgary.
Yeah. So for the group, they did a really interesting presentation on computer modeling, and it was basically, I can't remember exactly what town, it wasn't LA, but in that area, and how they did all of the modeling to get around where all of the transportation lines should be, and it's very interesting that they can now do what used to take a lot of time into your computer program and do a lot of analysis very quickly. It was very interesting. Okay, so thanks. So that is recorded from last week. I'm going to go back and read it because I didn't get all of it, or listen to it. So if you have an opportunity, go back and listen to it. It's great for context. Okay, so thank you, Councillors McFadden and Fedayko. The next item is the adoption of the previous meetings minutes. So we have the adoption of minutes from October 21st, 2020. So did anybody find any errors or omissions? If not, can I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented? Okay. Heather moved, all in favor? Okay. And was there another set of minutes, Lisa, or just that one? Was there a second set? Just the October 21st was the last one?
October was our last official meeting.
Okay. So, okay. So that is, we've had a bit of a gap, and COVID related, and that's not typical. Usually we do have a monthly meeting year round. And so moving on from that, we're going to go to the Development Officer's report for the months of October, November, December, and January. So 4 months hand running, Riley.
Yeah, that's actually quite unique that it's been so long since we've met as a group here, and for the development officer's report to go back to October of 2020. But the report is included in the agenda package. There are a number of development permits that are outlined in the report, starting on page 2 and ending on page 6. The summary for the report is in October, we had a total of 10 development permits issued. In November, we had a total of 13. And December, we also had a total of 13 to bring the total for 2020 to 153 development permit applications overall. This is down from the previous year by about 20%. We did have in 2019 191 DP applications. However, given the circumstances in COVID, that's not necessarily unexpected with the 20% decrease. This year, in January, we had a total of 4 development permits issued. And as of February 11th, we had a total of 16 development permit applications in process currently. This is a little bit down. Now the numbers are early, but this is a little bit down. As you can see that we had originally, not originally, but in 2020, we had 20 development permit applications at the same time, and we currently have 16. So we are slightly down from last year. that does conclude my report. There are a number of applications outlined in the report, and I'd be happy to answer any of the questions that you may have.
Okay.
Riley, I have been asked a few times of what's with the barn that's being erected on the former farm down at Griffin, and does anybody know?
Yeah, we sure do. Just to let people know where that is, the old Griffin Ranch site is as you go down Griffin Road, as you go east, and then as it turns south towards Spray Lakes. It is the land between the road and the river, and just kind of a bit southwest from the Griffin Industrial Point Industrial Park. That was the original Griffin homestead and farm site. One of the really great aspects of that site, the remnants, was in fact that barn. It was listed on the town's heritage register. It is now privately owned, and the folks who own it are moving ahead with a stripping and grading, so prepping the site for future development. But one of the aspects of that previous development permit, which was approved last year, was the preservation of that barn. And the current landowners very graciously had volunteered to protect the barn, and not only protect it, but to incorporate it into their new development. And so part of the development permit for the stripping and grading was also included moving the barn to a new location, so that it could make room for the development that they are planning for that site. So they moved the barn, they've put it on a new foundation, and we'll be moving forward with a future development likely this year.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I had asked Riley, I didn't give him very much notice, but I did ask Riley to kind of give us some context. It's been, we haven't had a meeting for a long time, and to give us kind of an overview of the kinds of things that the planning department is working on. And just to kind of give us some context, because things will start to move hopefully as we move on in 2021, and just kind of the things as what he's seeing as things that are going to come up to kind of lay the land, so to speak.
Sure, and just building on Councillor Federico and Councillor McFadden's council report, they mentioned a very significant development that is going to be occurring this year, and that is the RCMP, or the new Protective Services building, excuse me. I know we call it the new RCMP building, but it is the new Protective Services building, because it will not only accommodate the RCMP, but our Protective Services folks here at the town too. So that is forthcoming. We also received an application, I think a few folks here may have heard of it, the Franciscan lands that they own, what most people know as the Big Hill. There is an application there for an area structure plan. They have submitted the area structure plan. We, as the town, are now looking at it and doing our review. So that is still in process. That will likely be proceeding here into 2021. And along that process, that is. We also have an area redevelopment plan in for the Towers Rolling Range and Towers Trail in the southwest of Cochrane. That is ongoing as well. And that area redevelopment plan is to redevelop the country residential area, those acreages into more urbanized development. So that is currently ongoing. Something else that is significant for 2021 that we're all looking forward to is the Highway 1A expansion. That will be forthcoming. The construction is expected to start this year, which is also very exciting. it is in the design stage, and we will be looking forward to construction here later on, likely this spring. And that is a fairly significant project that will see the widening and the twinning of 1A through the town of Cochrane, and the improvement of the Center Avenue and 1A intersection as well, which is greatly needed.
And sorry, and just to clarify on Mr. Weldon's comments about the 1A. So this isn't the 22 1A, that's the province's work to do. This is the 1A in Center, which normally the municipality is not in charge of highway work, but we decided that it was important enough to put municipal resources to. So we're, as Mr. Weldon said, through the design process right now for the widening of 1A and Center. And then with any luck, that will tie in with the province's plans to upgrade the 22 and 1A. But the goal is to make sure we aren't going to have a gap of really great new intersection, but that the feeder into it was still small town. So it, anyhow, hopefully it'll go well. I'm quite impressed with the design that we've seen so far. Maybe not the price tag, but the design's good.
So will the expectation be that the 1A is twinned from the top of the hill, Glen Eagles, right through to the 22? No?
No, it'll be, Mr. Weldon, correct me if I'm wrong, pretty much at the bottom of the hill. The hill itself makes it difficult to do that. So the hill itself, kind of once you get to the bottom, just before Center, is when all of this work will be done. And then this widening, there'll be removal of some left turns. So it'll become a lot of right turn only work. But a lot of thought has been going into, and what I was glad to see, the pedestrian access and multimodal transportation along this, and some good preliminary thought on, you know, how this upgrade is going to look and the entry feature that it adds to the town. So some good early work there. This work, though, I think ends kind of right before where the ranch access is. The Cochrane Ranch's access.
Yeah, not quite. It's a little bit further east than that. It's so just beyond where Fifth Avenue is the extent of the work. Yeah.
Yeah, and this will include, so now where Fourth comes down, where the buses are coming down off the school.
Yes.
So Fourth will get closed, right? And the road, they're actually going to kind of cut into the hill a little bit and put a swing. And so then coming down the hill, the road will turn and bend to the west a little bit, and then it'll connect with 1A at Fifth. So that's been a dream for 20 plus 30 years. So finally, so I don't think any surprise to anybody living along there or businesses there, that's the plan. And so with any luck, the municipal momentum is going to allow this to happen this year. I know the team's working hard on finalizing all of the design work so that it can go to tender, and we can start seeing some shovels in the ground to make some of these transportation projects move ahead.
Thank you. And Riley, can I have an update also on the land use bylaw and the MDP?
Sure. Okay, I'm not muted. I always have to check. Sure. Yeah. So the land use bylaw project is we're at the last stage of our last phase, which it means that we are creating the draft plan currently, and we anticipate that draft plan will be ready near the end of the month, kind of first week in March. So that'll be a draft in its complete form as well. So that'll be available for public. That'll be available for everyone to get a copy and to review it, which will also mean the Cochrane Planning Commission as well. So yeah, that's very exciting that we're getting to that stage. It's always great to kind of get it into that draft form. So the municipal development plan. So the municipal development plan, we are looking to start the municipal development plan this year. We likely will not be starting it before the land use bylaw project is complete. So that will start later on this year. We are doing some preliminary work here at the early stages, just from a project management perspective of what that will look like. But the actual kickoff won't happen until later on this year with our land use bylaw that's taking up a lot of our time and resources right now currently.
So have you identified a lead for the MDP project?
No, we have not. That's part of the work that is being undertaken right now.
Riley, I have a question. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Riley, I have a question. You mentioned two projects that are in the works. One is the Franciscan, the other one is a Tower Trail. Are they both outside of the town limits or city limits?
No, through the chair, it's both projects are in the town boundaries. So the Franciscan application is a part of it. It's just under a quarter section, I think, or maybe just above the quarter section that I think a lot of folks see as the kind of the green space of the Big Hill. That in fact is private land, and that is within the town of Cochrane. There is a portion there, of course, as you go up the hill and further to the north, that it is the town boundary, and it does become Rocky View lands there. The Towers Trail and Rolling Range is within the town boundary as well. The town's western boundary is basically the Towers Road. Is the town boundary there.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So a question, Riley. As we went through the land use bylaw process, there were some updates to bylaws. And one of them was that accessory suites, that the administration became the development officer for accessory suites. And I see in your report that there's been a lot of accessory suites come forward. I'm just wondering or curious with respect to, have you had any challenges with clustering, with a bunch of the applications coming in like in a block face, so to speak?
Yeah, I don't think we have had any challenges per se on the clustering. There certainly is that analysis that is happening on which was a large part of the amendment itself, was the consideration of clustering and having the land use bylaw be updated for that to be considered. But in terms of any issues that are around the clustering, we haven't seen any issues so far. It's actually been working fairly well.
Good. Okay. Well, thank you. Any other questions of Riley before we move on? No. Thank you very much for the update, Riley.
I think Councillor Fedeko has her hand up. I see a hand up.
Does she? Okay. Sorry, you're at the bottom. Sorry. I apologize.
That's okay. Thanks, Mr. Weldon, for the presentation. I'm kind of still curious. I know that I've asked a couple of times, either to yourself or to Mr. Corman, about an update on the businesses that opened during COVID. If we can get that list, I think it would be really beneficial. I'd love to see how many businesses that we can celebrate that opened during a pandemic, which is even more crazy, but I'm not sure whose lead that is. But if somebody could get back to me, that would be great. I'd love to see kind of what that looks like and what that number looks like too.
Certainly. Yeah, will do.
Thank you.
I can confirm, Marnie, that Mike has been working on that list. He certainly was being cautious from the FOIP perspective about releasing information. And so he'd been checking with our FOIP office to make sure that we were not in contradiction of that legislation prior to releasing that information. But we can certainly make sure that that gets released to you.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I hadn't heard an update, so I was just curious as to where that was. So thanks for the information.
For sure.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Fedeko. Okay, so the next item is on item 7, the development permits, and oh no, it isn't. Actually, it is DP 2020-151.
Sorry for the interruption, but could we have someone move to approve the deal report?
Yes, of course. Can we have a motion to approve the development officer's report? Several hands up. Kara? Carol Locke. Okay. All in favor? Okay. And the next item is DP 2020-151. And I believe Adam is the presenter.
Good evening. I'm just getting my presentation up and ready to go. Hopefully everyone can see it. So tonight I'm presenting DP 2020-151. It's for 3 freestanding digital signs. So the proposal is to replace 2 existing freestanding signs in a drive-through, as well as incorporating another one into the design. So these digital signs would feature a changing menu with listings and graphics, as well as minimal animations that would be used to confirm customers' orders while they're in the drive-through. The site in question is 12 West Side Drive. Specifically, it's the Tim Hortons drive-through on that site. The property is zoned highway commercial, and as mentioned, it's for a restaurant and drive-through. However, with digital signs, they are discretionary within the digital sign overlay rather than by the district. And so this is just map 12 of our bylaw to show that overlay and show the locations in town where digital signs are discretionary. Everywhere outside of these areas, it would be prohibited. And I've just marked the subject property with a little yellow star there for reference. So under planning and evaluation, one of the things that we do look at is the Western Heritage Design Guidelines. There are suggestions for signs, whether it be brick, stonework, wood, or metal. However, the applicant is proposing that the signs will just have minimal black metal frames, and they'll actually have a smaller profile from the existing signs on site. You can kind of see them there. I've circled them in red. We do also go over the regulations for digital signs themselves. As you can see by this wall of text, there are many, and most of them are designed based on the assumption that digital signs are going to be placed in such a way that they're going to be interacting with a road. So we are looking at the size, the location, how they're wired, the number of signs on the site, separation between them, as well as the messages and illumination. And I'll kind of touch on that a bit more. So under our bylaw, we ask that the signs have a fixed message for a minimum interval of 3 seconds, which these signs will comply with. Again, they will be static for the most part, but there will be some changes, again, as a customer is ordering, or there might just be small animations to go through the menu. We also look at illumination and dimming. So these signs do have automatic brightness control. So when they're not in use, they will be dimmed. And the maximum brightness is about 3,000 lumens. The specs say 500 nits. The comparison with lumens is just to give reference to our backlit sign regulations. And for those who aren't aware, our maximum is 6,000 lumens. So these signs, when they're at maximum brightness, will be well under that limit. However, because these signs are a bit more unique, they don't necessarily fit into what was imagined for a digital sign when this bylaw was written. There are some variances required. Again, when it was written, it was quite strict about animations and transitions, which even though that the images are not animated themselves, there are animations and transitions when a customer is interacting with them. So menus will pop up, items will be highlighted, things like that. So a variance has been requested for that. They have also asked for a variance for when these signs will be turned on. Under our bylaw, we require it to be from 10 p.m. to, or we require that the signs be turned off between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. And they are asking that they limit it to their business hours. The third variance is the proposed sign area, which under our regulations, we have a minimum sign area 4 meters square. And again, this is going back to the fact that when this bylaw was written, they were imagining some of the display boards that you see around town that are interacting with traffic. So the idea was that they'd be large enough and visible, and they wouldn't be causing any strain or distraction if they were too small. However, these signs are going to be much closer to the customers in their vehicles. So having a 4 square meter minimum is a bit impractical. So a variance of 50% is required to reduce it to 2 meters square. And the final variance is the separation between signs. Our bylaw requires it to be 75 meters between signs. Again, this is based on the intent that these signs would be spaced out along the road and interacting with it. Whereas these signs are actually going to be on site in a drive-through lane, and they're not actually meant to be visible from the road. They're serving a much different purpose. And so that's why, however, a variance is still required, and it's reducing it to 4.6 meters, which is about the width of those drive aisles. All right, so to touch on the site plan and to give you a better idea where they're laid out. So you can see the Tim Hortons there. There are the 2 existing signs. You can see them in the image there. They're large. They have 5 panels that that they can open up and change messages, as well as a speaker box. As well as you can see a third sign at the entrance there that's facing oncoming traffic. These are the signs that are going to be replaced. And just to give you a bit more of an idea of what these existing signs are like I said, they're quite a bit larger, and they have 5 panels, a speaker box. They're already interconnected with the building itself. So the proposed signs are going to be much more minimal. So the first one is the pre-sale sign. So that's taking place of that sign right at the entry to the driveway. So this would be facing vehicles as they are coming in. As you can see, they'll have a static image there just to feature any items that on their menu. The signs themselves for the drive-through, they're going to be 3, I believe they're Samsung LCD screens that will be used to feature the menu. They have a slightly smaller profile, and you can see when I mentioned they have a much more minimal and black metal look to them. And this is more, again, for simplicity. And from when we look at it from a Western heritage standpoint, this is so that it's not detracting from the main building itself. They're very much there to serve a purpose of serving the drive-through. So administration's recommendation for tonight is the Cochrane Planning Commission approve the development permit 2020-151 for 3 digital signs with variances subject to the conditions in the report. I'm now available for any questions.
Thank you very much, Adam, for your presentation. Is anyone prepared to propose a motion? Tara? You move?
Yeah, I move the recommended action. It seems like a reasonable request, and I think it fits in with what the intent is that we were looking for in the Western heritage design. So, and also in the digital signage changes. So it seems reasonable, and glad to support it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any questions, comments, discussion? Okay, I'll ask again, any questions, comments, discussion?
Sorry, Deb, can I ask a question just
Absolutely.
for clarification? not like I do support this. Is the reason this was coming to the CPC for decision was because of the variance requests? Or does this normally fit under the staff's jurisdiction?
Yeah, through the chair.
So
Sorry, I touched on it maybe a bit too briefly. These signs are a discretionary use and therefore are decided upon by Cochrane Planning Commission. In addition to that, there is the 4 variances.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Further comment, Tara? No? Just clarification? Okay. Any other questions, comments? Councilor Federico?
A comment. I have no problem with this. I think when we look at where they're situated, who it's going to be impacting, there's really not an issue for me to be able to have them have us approve this. It's those cases, and the reason that we like it coming forward to the Cochrane Planning Commission is because there have been cases where we've seen a lot of digital signs or LED signs that are definitely maybe not necessarily always located in the right places. So I'm thankful that we still have that opportunity to voice or to give our opinion on what we think. But for this case, I have absolutely no problem with approving this.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Any other questions or comments? If not, I think we're prepared to take option 1 to vote. All in favor? It's carried unanimously, Lisa.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, madam. And so that is a very short agenda for this evening. Our next meeting is Wednesday, March 17th. It's St. Patrick's Day, so we'll all wear green if we so choose at 6:30 p.m. And could someone move to close the meeting, please? George? Okay, thank you.